to look far in Scripture to find something to be thankful for. This text really gives us some very pointed instruction on how very, very blessed we are. So let's read Colossians chapter 1, verses 12 to 17. Paul writes to that church, giving thanks to the Father. It picks up in the middle of a sentence, by the way. Giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. He has delivered us from the domain of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of His beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by Him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through Him and for Him. And He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. Let's pray together. God, for your word, we are grateful. And for each opportunity that we have to open it together, we are thankful and we recognize how blessed we are. I pray to God that as we reflect together for these moments together in your house, that we would be challenged, that we would be motivated, that we would be reminded of the hope that is ours through Jesus Christ, and that we would recognize the blessedness of our lives, even when it does not seem so. And we pray that, again, from you, we will hear what is needed for each of our lives this morning, that our minds would be cleared of all of those things that are drawing and calling our attention in the outside world, and that for these moments, we would be deepened in our connection with you through your Holy Spirit, and that Christ would be glorified as we offer this word. In Jesus' name. Amen. In case you were doubting it, Thanksgiving is important. Thanksgiving matters. Jesus, in Luke, as he heals the 10 lepers, and they all kind of go on after having been healed. One returns to give thanks, and Jesus doesn't even address the other 9. He does say, where are the other 9? But he focuses on the one, because it is good to give thanks. And so Thanksgiving is critically important, and it is a good practice to get into in our lives. People today, in our world, often fail to recognize the importance of a grateful heart, of Thanksgiving. We often fail to recognize that. And that's just a statement of culture. We've moved to a certain way where we just sort of take life for granted on a daily basis. And when we're blessed, we just kind of take it for granted and we move on. But we just fail to recognize how important it is that we stop and live out Thanksgiving. And that's the reason that the Thanksgiving holiday, Thanksgiving is not a religious holiday. It is a secular holiday instituted in our country originally by President Abraham Lincoln, the way I understand history, who said we need to stop and give thanks. We need to stop and be, we go back to the Pilgrims, and we think that the Pilgrims really weren't having an official Thanksgiving. They were thankful, but it wasn't instituted as a national holiday until much, much later in our history, when our leaders decided it would be a good thing to stop and give thanks. And you know who they were focusing their thanks on? They were focusing their Thanksgiving on God. Something we probably wouldn't see so much out of our political leaders today. But it is good, nonetheless, for us to stop and have a period of time where we are grateful. Saw an internet meme going around, probably on Facebook or Instagram, not long ago, and it really drives home this point. What if you woke up tomorrow morning only in possession of those things that you were thankful to God for today? How full would your life be? And that really puts it in perspective for me. That really is it. What if all you had left tomorrow were the things that you were thankful for today? Not the things that you took for granted, but the things that you were thankful for. I was at church in, I think it's in the Carolinas somewhere, that did a video a couple of years ago. The guy wakes up, it's kind of a comedic skit, but it's really well done. And he wakes up and he's wrapped in Christmas wrapping paper. And he wakes up and he busts out of the package and he's, oh, thank you, I'm alive. And then he goes out and looks over at his wife who's wrapped up in Christmas wrapping paper. He says, oh, thank you, I have a wife. And then he goes downstairs and there's breakfast on the table and it's in a gift box. He says, oh, thank you, I got breakfast. And, you know, the things that we just take for granted. But he was driving home the point, the importance of truly being grateful for what it is that we've got. And we should live life that way. So we need to not be the people that take things for granted. We need to be the people that do recognize the importance of Thanksgiving. When we give a gift to someone, we like to know that it got there, that it's been used, and that it's been appreciated. My mom, I love my mom profusely. You may have picked up on that. And I miss her dearly. But when I gave her a couple of things over the years that I thought, well, this would be a really cool gift. Mom would like this. And then when she died, we were cleaning out the house, and those things were still in the box, you know. And, whatever. She it was fine. But at the end of the day, I thought, well, I'd sure like to have thought that she used that, or got some blessing out of that. But it's the way it is. And but we like to know that it's been used and that it's been appreciated. And it's nice to hear those things. That's why Jesus said, didn't I heal 9 lepers? Where are the other 9? Only this one foreigner came back to offer thanks. But it's emphasizing it's good to give thanks. It's good to be appreciated. When you do something for somebody, it's, you don't do it for that, but it's nice to know that you've blessed somebody. And it's nice to tell somebody that they've been a blessing. One of the things I do every November is I try to be a little more intentional about Thanksgiving. I try to be a little more intentional about expressing gratitude for the blessings in my life. Even the little things that we take for granted. And it's my personal Thankful November project. I try to do that year-round, but I really get intentional about it during the month of November. So it gives me 30 days to really develop that practice. But I also try to tell people, maybe a waiter or waitress in a restaurant, maybe a clerk at the grocery store, or someone when they're particularly cheerful or whatever, I pause and I thank them. And that's a beautiful practice, because I know those people are quick to hear when they've messed up, but they need to be told when they're a blessing to other people. And I would encourage you to do that on an ongoing basis. Not to follow my lead because I'm so wonderful, but join me in this quest to become more thankful people. And finally, on this matter, just to point out to us the importance of Thanksgiving, is that, the mindset of I said many, but perhaps most people in our world today, is that we begin to believe that somehow we have earned everything that we have. We've been taught from our earliest elementary school days that in America, you can be anything you want to be. There's no restrictions on you. And what we mean by that is, I talked about Abraham Lincoln a moment ago, a kid can grow from meager beginnings and no formal education and become president of the United States. That's what we mean by that, and that is true. But, we have, the whole concept, and I know I reference this frequently, but I remember in early elementary school hearing the idea of rugged individualism, manifest destiny, these kind of concepts that come up in the study of our nation's history. And yes, we were built on the premise of manifest destiny and rugged individualism. That's the pull yourself up by your own bootstraps mentality. And then we've gotten to the point now where we live in a world where this entitlement mindset permeates everything that we do. And some of that will come through in the video that we're going to show this evening. That mindset, well, I'm entitled to this. You know, by golly, I'm an American. I'm entitled to this, or whatever else. You know, I think this is where my understanding of the Christian faith comes in. The Christian faith, in its entirety, is summed up by the idea that you and I are worms. You and I are despicable. You and I are the lowest of the low. We are broken. We are scarred by sin. We mess up routinely and frequently. And as a result of that, even in the small ways, because the little sins, the little white lies, and the little manipulations that we undertake on a daily basis are sinful. And any sin, in comparison to a totally holy and totally righteous God, is worthy and deserving of the death penalty. So what we deserve is hell, you and I. But because of the love, the grace, and mercy of God, we are invited into a relationship with the Creator of the universe, the Sustainer of the universe, who loved us enough that He sent His own Son to die in our place to purchase our salvation. Now that's not rocket science. Not one of you here today has not heard that message before. But we have stuff to be thankful for. We are not entitled to anything. We are not entitled to heaven. Again, I frequently hear people say to me, "Oh, well, I try to treat people decent, and try to live the best I can, and be honest in my dealings with people." And those are all laudable, and I encourage that behavior. Okay, but the best you can do is still not enough. That's the message of the gospel, and we lose sight of that. But people will come to me and they'll say, well, they're trying to justify it with the end of their life, or sadly, after they're gone. And a family member will say to me, well, no, they really never, talked much about Jesus. I don't know where they stood with Christ. But they were a good person, and they liked everybody, and they were hardworking and determined. And those are great things, but it's not good enough. But we try to balance the scales and think, well, I've earned heaven. No, you haven't. You never will. And then it goes into every level of our culture. Well, I'm an American. I'm entitled to, a decent lifestyle and all that. Scripture even says, if you're not going to work, you're not going to eat. It's in there. We forget all that truth, but it's in there. And so, where's it at? Well, it's not that we're entitled, it's that we are blessed. God has blessed us. He has called us into a relationship with Him. He has provided for us, and He has provided everything that we need for life and godliness. So what are those steps to being thankful? On every level, whether it's thankfulness to someone who has blessed us, or whether it's thankfulness to God, or anything in between, even for the gift of life. What are those steps that we need to undertake in being thankful? It's in this text that we read together this morning from Colossians 1. The first thing we need to do is to recognize that what we've been given was not produced by us. The gift of salvation is not something we can earn. It is not something that we have generated. It's not something that we have done because we have skewed the ledger or balanced the books or increased, put in more than we got out. It is not produced by us. What we have been given in this case is by the shed blood of Jesus Christ and by no other source. There is no other name under heaven by which one must be saved except the name of Jesus Christ. But we forget that. We hear people say, oh, you're blessed, you live here, you work hard, you do good things, you balance the scales, and it's all good. No, we did not produce our own salvation. We are not capable of doing that, but Christ is that for us. When someone gives you a gift, regardless of what that gift is, you did not produce that. That was gifted to you. It was given. That's what the word means. It was given to you. You didn't build it. It's yours. And if it's done rightly, there are no strings attached to it. There are certainly no strings attached to the gift of salvation through Jesus Christ, except that we would accept the gift. And we would appreciate the gift. And we would live out the gift. And we will do so eternally. But we need to recognize that what we've been given was not produced by us. This requires a certain amount of humility. Humility is requisite. Anytime someone gives you a gift, you have to say, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't see myself as worthy of that. I'm not entitled to that. And yet here it is for me to enjoy. What is required of us to really be thankful for what God has done for us is to approach Him and recognize, I'm a wreck. At every turn, I mess up, but God blesses me. I cannot tell you the number of times, and it seems like the older I get, and the more perspective I kind of gain on this, the more I understand how much God blesses me. I don't deserve a thing I've got. I don't deserve a beautiful wife with 3 great kids, a church where I can serve, an opportunity to minister on a daily basis, safe and reliable transportation, good, healthy food on the table, and some not so healthy food too, but, that's not God, that's Satan. I think, chocolate, it's good, but it's the devil. I know, but I don't deserve anything that I've got, and yet every day I've got it. And that's what this whole Thankful November project for me is to really wake up and recognize even the little things. I got some big things to be thankful for too, but the little things on a daily basis to just bless that I don't deserve. And it requires humility. It helps us to keep ourselves in perspective. It helps me to realize that I'm not all that important. I'm not all that great. I'm not all that central to anything. If I die tonight, hopefully my sleep painlessly and all that, I'll just wake up in the presence of Jesus. I don't plan to die tonight. I hope I don't die tonight. That's not my desire. But if I did, the sun would rise tomorrow. And there's a half dozen people that would miss me, but mostly the world would go on, right? I'm not all that important. There's only one that matters, and that's Jesus Christ. And it requires me to approach Him with the spirit of humility. And finally, in order to be thankful, you have to acknowledge the gift and the source. You got to know who to thank and what you're thanking Him for. Right? It's really pretty simple. You ever get an anonymous gift? Years ago, like 20 years ago, that's years, plural, I got one of those, it's like Pepperidge Farm gift packages that come at Christmas time. You know those things, right? You can buy them at the shopping mall, or apparently you can order them, mail order. And I had one shipped to my house in Stonington, and I thought, that's weird. There's no name on it, no who it's from. I know that Pepperidge Farms didn't appreciate me all that much. They didn't know I existed. So this UPS guy shows up and delivers summer sausage and some cheese and some crackers and whatever. And I was puzzled because I didn't know who to thank. It was good. I liked it, but I didn't know who to thank. He just showed up. And so it put me in that position of recognizing, you got to be thankful for the gift, but you got to know who to thank. It's pretty basic, but it's important. You can't be thankful if you don't know who to thank. This whole thing involves thanking the God who has blessed us and coming to Him in that spirit of thanksgiving. So those are the steps to being thankful, or the sort of the goals of it. So now, what does it really involve? This is for those news reporters or investigative reporters among us. It's really the who, the what, and the why here of what we're after. What does our thankfulness involve? Well, we need to recognize that what we have received comes directly from God alone. This is a bit of repetition from what we've already talked about, but it bears repeating. The old seminary preaching class model was, if you're going to preach a sermon, you tell them what you're going to tell them, and you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. Right? And that's the way, if you repeat things 3 times, it'll stick in your brain. So I told you what I was going to tell you, and then I told you. Now I'm going to tell you what I told you. What we have received comes from God alone. It's not because you're smart and talented and brilliant. It's not because you are worthy. It's not because you are gifted in that direction. It comes because God loves you and has provided for you what you need to do life and to do ministry. And He's called you to obedience. That's what we've received. That's who we've received His Son from. So our thankfulness should be directed to God alone. Now, if someone around you gives you a gift for Christmas, don't ignore them. Well, I'm thankful to God for the fact that you gave me that gift. Be grateful. Tell them you're appreciative, but recognize that God is blessing you. Even in the midst of pain and brokenness, in Scripture we are also told to give thanks in every situation. Even when the bottom has fallen out, even when everything is broken, even when death or disease or illness or injury or distress or financial calamity, even when those things befall us, we are still to be thankful to God for the gift of life, and most importantly for the gift of life eternal, available only through the shed blood of Jesus Christ. So our thankfulness is focused on God. What are we thankful for? Above anything else, we are thankful for salvation and righteousness. Salvation is possible through Jesus Christ. And righteousness is the goal that we are pursuing, and it is the lens through which God views us. You know that parent who those of you that are school teachers will understand this, or school employees will understand this more than many. That parent whose child can do no wrong. That parent who, when the child messes up in the classroom and the parent comes in, what have you done to fail my child? I told when we were still in the public schools, I would tell teachers at the beginning of the year, you know that parent that does that? I'm not that parent. If my child messes up in the classroom, they need to explain to me why they messed up in their classroom. And that's how we play. And teachers generally appreciated that spirit. My kids are perfect, however, so they never tested that limit. No, I'm kidding. But that's why we public school, because they couldn't tolerate my kids in the public school system. That's not at all true. But we are righteous in God's eyes because He sees us not as we are, but He sees us through the blood of Jesus. And so we are moving toward righteousness, and we are made whole by the sacrificial atoning death of Jesus Christ, and by no other means. We need to be thankful for that. We need to be very thankful for that. God, by His goodness and by His love, makes us fit for heaven. We are not fit for heaven. We are in heaven. Heaven is a place of absolute perfection. Everything is perfect. There is no bitterness, no deceit, it's 70 degrees and sunny every day. I don't know. Okay, I'm making that part up. But it's perfect because God is there. And that makes it perfect. It's just ideal. And God is preparing people like us who are not perfect and are not ideal and are scarred by sin and brokenness. He is making us fit for heaven. And the final step in that for us is when we're done with this body and it's put in the ground and then we are raised to new life in Christ. And we are made perfect. So all of us who have placed our hope and trust in Christ are going to be perfect someday. That would be so cool. The ultimate gift to be thankful for is our future perfection in the kingdom of God forever. And it's not because we're good, but it's because He's good. Because He is the beginning of all things. He is the source of all things. It's Jesus that they're talking about, who is fully God. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by Him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through Him and for Him. He deserves our worship and our thanksgiving, because my mantra in the last decade or so has been this: He is good, even when I am not. He is faithful, even when I am not. And He shows me how to extend to Him that which He deserves. My gratitude, my thanksgiving for the gift of life itself, the opportunities every day to share that life and that hope with the people around me. He is good, friends, even when you are not. That in and of itself is enough to be thankful for in the days ahead. Let's pray. God, for this opportunity to open your word together and to be encouraged by it and to be reminded of that which matters is a gift to us. And I pray that you would help us in the days ahead as we come up to Thanksgiving, but also in every day of our lives going forward. You would help us to truly be thankful people. We sing about that. I pray that as we come into your presence, we would bless you by recognizing the many blessings that you give to each of us. And God, for every opportunity that we have to experience your love and to share your love, we are grateful. And I pray for each one here that as we continue to live out our faith, that we would grow in our devotion and in our obedience each and every moment of our lives. Deepen our commitment, God, and our love for you as a result of what you have done in our lives as we offer this prayer in the name of and for the sake of Jesus Christ. Amen.